This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. I just saw, Ben, that John Birch snuck in. Did you ask him?
Yes.
Good, okay.
This is the AnCan high risk advanced recurrent prostate call. The date is April 12th. I'm the moderator, Ben Nathanson. So the first person, let's see. The first person who wanted time was Paul Foreman. Showed up early just for that.
Yes, thank you. I guess to follow up on my last attendance last Monday, and I had asked about the side effects of my combo chemo treatment, and I have to say last Monday I was much more fatigued than I am today. So it's kind of gotten better. My side effects have gotten better since then. And of course, next week is when I will have my next round of the cabazitaxel carboplatin. So it'll start all over again, I guess, or maybe not. And one thing I did want to talk about is my hunger. And I'm not sure if it's the prednisone that I'm taking 10 milligrams a day, but I'm finding it, I'm constantly eating, constantly, little small things, snacks, and you know, before I started the chemo, I wasn't having all of these cravings per se. I know it's not the best thing to do. I try to drink as much water as possible for appetite suppression, but I mean, that's my open question. How do I deal with appetite that I don't want to have? I thought maybe with the chemo, I would be losing my appetite, but quite the opposite.
Well, you know, it's an interesting issue that you raise because this is a problem that a lot of men who go on hormone therapy for the first time face, and I know I certainly did. But when I went on that hormone therapy, one of my issues was I was constantly hungry. I just couldn't seem to eat enough. And one of the solutions that I found was to have loads of very low calorie and healthy snacks available at hand. So what are low calorie healthy snacks? Carrots cut up, celery cut up, jicama cut up. I mean, any other of those vegetables. But carrots and celery seem to do a pretty good job of filling you up pretty quickly. And I also felt good about eating them. So I can't explain to you, and it could well be that it is the higher dose of steroids that you're taking that's giving you the appetite. But I can tell you that having those healthy snacks cut up and at hand is real helpful.
I will take that advice and follow through. Thanks.
Our vet gave our dog prednisone when she stopped eating in order to get her appetite up, and sure enough, she started eating well again. So it is one of the reasons they use it.
Yeah, I'd say count your blessings, Carl, that you have a good, healthy appetite. As you yourself stated, most guys on chemo feel like everything tastes horrible and they don't want to eat at all. So I think if it were me, I'd be happy with that condition.
Yeah, but I'm gaining weight.
Well, how much weight have you gained since you started?
10 pounds.
That's a fair amount. Are you exercising?
Yes, my physical therapy regimen which is currently twice a week. It's, you know, I do it for an hour each time, and there is a number of exercises there. I'm not doing, unfortunately, I'm not currently doing much more beyond that because of the heavy fatigue I've been feeling.
Carl, you've got to the extent you can, even if you push yourself for 10 minutes walk, it makes a huge difference in terms of how you absorb that chemo. I mean, the more exercise you can do, aerobic exercise during your chemo, the better you're going to tolerate it. And it's counterintuitive, but it works. I mean, people have heard me say often about we did, I think it was an exercise webinar years ago with Cure Talk. And the fellow, I'm just losing his name, he's the Abrams. Don Abrams, who is the integrative oncologist at the OSHA Medical Center at UCSF, was one of the guests. And he relates that one of his colleagues actually administers chemo whilst his patients are on a treadmill, walking on a treadmill. I mean, there's lots of good evidence, and I know you feel tired, but I mean, maybe some other guys can testify to this who have been on chemo, whether they've found doing a little bit of exercise to be helpful or not.
I find that the exercise makes me eat healthier, if not less. That's just me. I just feel like there's a little momentum gained from the exercise that just leads me to healthier eating. I can't speak to the quantity. When I was on chemo, everything tasted bad and I kept shifting around looking for other things to eat. But if it tastes good and it's not good for you, then you know what you need to do, I guess. What are you eating?
Oh boy. Well, like for dinner, I've already finished dinner. I had some 2 chicken patties, which with leftover sweet potato fries from the day before. For snacking, you know, I keep going to the pantry for whatever is there. I eat pistachio nuts regularly, and occasional chocolate, occasional cookie, things I know I shouldn't be having.
Pistachio salt content can be a problem.
Well, never mind cookies.
The cookies are the bigger problem for sure.
I mean,
Well,
Carl,
you
my
just-
only solution is not to have them in the house.
Yeah.
Well,
Same
since
here.
Passover is coming up.
Right. You got to finish all the hummus.
That's right. Although I have to limit my matzah intake too, right?
Yeah,
You like
you do.
popcorn, Carl.
Ah,
That's good, low calorie. And also, have you ever had rice cakes?
yes, actually, I had a few earlier. Apple cinnamon flavored rice cakes.
Yeah, they flavor them now, and they're very low calorie.
Yeah.
There's some literature in substance abuse treatment where they teach people how to cope with cravings and urges for their substance of choice. And some of those things have come across now to urges to snack. I tried this stuff, and my brain tries to shut my wiser voice off while it goes and gets a cookie, But they have things like that, what they call urge surfing, where you learn to observe your urge for something to eat, watch it rise, watch it fall. And there's a whole mindfulness-based business where you basically learn to observe the feelings rather than act on them. Maybe you could find something online for how to think mindfully about your craving, your urge for food. If it's anything like me, what happens to me is that when I after I got on treatment is that I would eat, but the signal that said that I've had enough, that signal disappeared. And so I would never feel like I had enough food. So you have to also, I think, do what Rick or somebody said, just not have it in the house.
Herb said that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. But I don't know, maybe check into some of this, mindfulness and urge surfing techniques. Over the last few years, mindfulness techniques have gained some pretty good traction in the literature for weight loss, and then the big problem, of course, of maintenance of weight loss, because everybody loses weight and then they rebound it all back again. Maybe you could find some of those techniques.
This is also just a quick mention, if anybody's heard of Aunt Gussie's cookies. They're low sugar, very tasty, but one bar is about 100 calories. I usually have one.
Yeah, but you're still a lot better off with celery and carrots, I hate to tell you.
Celery with peanut butter?
Another thing about these behavioral techniques too is that whenever somebody learns to observe and record things, it changes their behavior a little bit. And so if you wouldn't mind writing down every item and the number of calories, the very process of recording without even trying to go down will, I think, itself reduce your intake.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I second that, John, because when I was on my most successful diet, it was using an Excel spreadsheet where I had portions and calories per ounce, and then could just multiply across every day's intake. And then the other part of it is it sees where you can cut back, where the calories are coming from.
If you keep the sweets and the cookies out of the house and you're fatigued, you'll be too tired to go get it.
Right.
Good too.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I love cookies. I have 2 a day. That's it. If you can do something like that, you can handle it.
I can't do that.
Thanks, everyone.
Of course, each one is the size of a pizza.
All right.
No, they're not that big.
Okay. Next up is Frank Fabish. Frank, what's up?
I had my 3-month appointment with my oncologist this last week. And drum roll, PSA still undetectable. So that continues since June of 2021. My testosterone was 27. White blood cell count, 8.49. Red, 4.18. Hemo was 13.5. Platelet, 288. Calcium, 9.5. All the rest of the numbers were within range. So I couldn't ask for any better checkup at 3 months. So I'm very thankful that occurred. I'm still fighting with the enzalutamide and the side effects of enzalutamide, and spent quite a bit of time with the doc and the nurse practitioner talking about it. I tried to get off of it, but the VA won't approve darolutamide. They'll approve apalutamide, but not darolutamide. So the problem that I'm having, a couple different things. One is some dizzy spells and some falls. And number two is some brain fog, that I'm forgetting things that normally I know right off the bat and can talk about. Or another example is I'm talking about something, somebody interrupts, and I forget what I was talking about. So we addressed that. My doc seemed to think that he didn't think that that was enzalutamide, either the dizzy spells or the forgetfulness. But he said that there was one way we could find out. And he said, let's go off of enzalutamide for 6 weeks. And he said, and come back to see me. We'll run the blood test just to make sure everything is in line, and you can tell me what of any changes that you experienced. And I can tell you one thing that I have experienced now, I've been off of it for a week, is that the dizzy spells when I get up have almost gone away. So I feel the difference. And he's going to continue to work on the darolutamide to see if he can get it approved. But again, the VA is really dragging their feet big time on this. But I was glad that he listened to what I had to say and proposed a solution. And he said, if we see these things go away, he said, I can go back to the VA and show them that this was our own test trial and these are the results of it. And they should approve the darolutamide as opposed to the enzalutamide. So I felt very good about that. And I'm also, just to bring everybody up to date with my sciatica, I'm going through water therapy. And I've gone through now 5 sessions. And I've seen major improvement with my back. Just had one today, a 40-minute session, and very invigorating. And here in Columbus, Ohio, the water temperature in the pool was 93 degrees.
Oh,
So you get down in it and it relaxes the muscles. But I thought that was an up to date. And as I said, I'm going to be back in 6 weeks and see. It's going to be interesting to see. He didn't think, my chemo doctor didn't seem to think that he would see any difference on the testosterone or the PSA. We'll find out. So that's the up to date I had. And any other comments anybody can contribute on enzalutamide, I'm open to listening.
Frank, this is John. I have a lot of experience trying to convince the VA pharmacy to release a non-formulary drug. And I think your doc is on the right track. It sounds like she has already made a non-formulary request and been refused. But coming back with evidence like that might just be the trick to turn the corner around. And I used to sometimes actually go down to the pharmacy and talk to the PharmD and work it out together in person, which often helped as well. I think darolutamide, when I first got on it, I looked up its price, and it was about $1,400 or $1,500 a month, something like that. Several $100s more than I think what enzalutamide cost. Although, you don't know what prices the VA negotiates for these things. They may be getting enzalutamide really cheap.
Yes, I talked with my doc, and my next step is I'm going to go over to the VA. My urologist over there that worked with me until they found my cancer metastatic, I'm going to be calling him to see if he'll go with me to the pharmacist and make a pitch at them, even without the evidence of the trial. And he did that when I wanted to go on Orgovix. He helped me in getting that approved by the VA. And I thought that I could enlist him to push a little bit and see if we could get anywhere with the pharmacy at the VA here in Columbus.
Another thing you could do is what I did when my insurance wouldn't pay for darolutamide, which is ask Bayer to give it to you for free. And they gave me a year's supply.
I went after Bear and I've heard nothing from them. I filled out the application, faxed it to them, talked to them by phone, and there's been absolutely no communication back from them on the darolutamide.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I just felt that let me get through this 6-week vacation and on the drug, and then see if I can enlist the help at the VA clinic, and then go from there once he's ready to put me back on.
Are you scared to go off for 6 weeks? Does it make you scared that you'll have a recurrence?
I had hesitancy that I talked over with my doc, and he calmed down the anxiety that I had because I expressed it to him. I said, look, it's undetectable, testosterone under control. Why do we, let's just change one of the meds and go with that. But he said, look, I'm telling you based upon my experience. He said 6 weeks should have zero impact on where your numbers are. He said, I will be very, very surprised. And he expressed a great deal of confidence, and it made me feel that it was worth the try, and to see, to give him evidence to go back to the VA and make a strong pitch at them that it was the enzalutamide. So yes, it bothered me quite a bit. And when the nurse practitioner came in and talked to me about it, I said, I really don't want to do it. And then he came in and talked very strongly about his feelings and his experience. And he's been successful in all of his recommendations up to this point. It's been right, spot on, and effective. So at this point in time, I have to, I feel, follow him unless 6 weeks from now we see different. But he said, as a caveat, he said, look, if it does go up a little bit, he said, we'll put you right back on again. And it isn't as if it's rejected the treatment. He said, and your numbers will go right back down again. So again, I felt more comfort with what he proposed than initially when they talked to me about it.
Hey Rick, if he gets turned down, if Frank gets turned down by the VA again, can we go to some of the contacts that we have at Bayer, and can they get him on a 1-year free program like Peter did and John did? So we know some people at Bayer that we can help Frank if you get turned down again.
Yeah,
And the
no, I
enzalutamide, I struggled on that enzalutamide. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's really kicked my ass.
so
Mine
And
too.
let's just talk about um, David's suggestion, and I'm more than happy to do that. And David, you may even want to broach it, if you're at the end or beginning of one of your conversations. But I'm happy to go to our Bayer lady and say, look, this guy is not getting anywhere. He's having issues, and see what they say. Now, there's a couple of other things that I wanted to raise with the darolutamide. One is that there are two trials. I think it's ARASENS and the other one is ARA something or the other. And I've actually got something to read about them, and Len and Herb will know better, that address the use of darolutamide in a metastatic castrate-sensitive situation. So that could mean that the FDA has got an approval coming, is going to loosen up the approval on darolutamide pretty soon, and I'll let Len or Herb comment on those two.
yeah, I read that trial. I read the write-up of that trial.
The other thing that I was just thinking, I mean, I'm trying to figure out this dizziness with the enzalutamide, and I'm wondering if anyone else has experienced that. And the question I have to maybe John, Dr. John, or anyone else is, could enzalutamide have an impact on blood pressure? Len, Herb, please, can you mute yourself? Could enzalutamide have an effect on your blood pressure? And could that be what's causing the dizziness, if there's a relationship there?
I got to look that one up. I know I got taken off Aberaterone because of blood pressure and edema problems and put on darolutamide. And once I got on darolutamide, my blood pressure completely normalized. But that's only one person. So let me just check here.
Right. And my question to you, Frank, is, has there been any, have you measured and have you noticed any abnormality in your blood pressure?
I mean,
No, it's been for 2 years. It's been consistent at like 110, 113 over 65 to 75. And I know while I was there, they took my blood pressure, reclined, they took it sitting up, and they took it standing up. And there was virtually no difference in those three positions. Now, this wasn't why at the time I was experiencing a dizzy spell, but they said that they wanted to do it, and I just had an echo on my heart not more than 2 months ago. Everything was fine. I have a pacemaker, and it's pacing at 100% because of my bradycardia. And so there's nothing there. And so it's the only thing I can point at is the enzalutamide as a possibility.
now I just looked and there's no evidence for postural hypotension with enzalutamide. It can cause hypertension, but you're not hypertense for sure. So, why you would feel lightheaded when you get up, it's not clear.
No, I have, again, it happened for about a period of 2 months. And in the process, before I knew what was going on, I had 2 falls from it. And then when I felt it coming on, I stood up and stood still and didn't continue to walk, which is what happened with both dizzy spells. I continued to walk, and then boom, I was on the floor. So again, I knew I had those in that period of 2 months, and they didn't go away. And now for the week that I've been off of enzalutamide, I've not experienced them.
I got the same information as Herb. They didn't list postural hypotension on my reference either. About 10% of people had hypertension, but about 10% of people are listed as having falls.
Your blood pressure wasn't low, was it?
Not
When
that I'm aware of.
standing? What's that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because that's what can cause you to get dizzy and fall if your blood pressure is too low.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in fact, when they were giving me new drugs lately, the doctor says, "Well, I want to make sure I don't give you too much, and you'll get dizzy and fall when you stand up."
Mm-hmm. Well, what I wanted to do is after I got home and that discussion, I said, okay, the next time I feel that dizziness, I'm going to take my blood pressure. But I haven't, in the week so far, I haven't had the opportunity, and call it good news or bad news, to be able to do that.
Sounds like we're going to learn a lot from this trial period off of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Len has put something in the chat window to the organizers, which is a good point, but I'm sure Dr. Mordasavi is well aware of this, that there was a very, very small percentage of folks who took enzalutamide, and actually this was when it first came out. This must be 6 or 7 years ago. And we saw, I think it was a 1 or 2% incidence of seizures, but it's rarely been reported since. And I've even seen it questioned as being a verifiable adverse event, but it was recorded and it is in the literature. So that could be. Len and Herb, for the benefit of everybody else, can you just talk a little bit about the two darolutamide trials right now that were reported or that they're looking at for castrate sensitive?
Right. Well, the first one, the major one, was the ARASENS trial, which came out in the New England Journal. And that trial combined darolutamide and ADT and taxane all at the same time. So it's again, it's one of these things where they're giving you triple therapy rather than using them serially. And the results were quite significant. So on that trial and that publication, I'd be very surprised if the FDA wouldn't approve it for that indication. Len, what do you think?
Yes, you're right, Herb. ARASENS involved docetaxel, so it's probably not really relevant for Frank. But Rick is right. There is another clinical trial ongoing that's for darolutamide in a castrate-sensitive state. I can't read. I think it is another ARA something, but I can't recall the name of it.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in the chat window. It is, there are two trials, one with taxane, one without, Aranote and ARASEC.
Yeah.
The Aranote is darolutamide, ARASEC is darolutamide plus ADT in metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer. Aranote is darolutamide and ADT versus ADT and metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer. Sorry, they're both without chemo.
Right.
They sound very similar. I don't know what the difference is between ARASEC and Aranote.
Well, I mean, there's no question, looking at the design of the Aranote trial, that it's going to show positive results, right? if you're simply adding a second generation to ADT, there's zero chance that it won't show positivity. But it's a ways off. So
I think the
the problem
difference.
is that we'll never, Rick, it'll show positivity. And enzalutamide plus ADT versus ADT alone shows magnificent positivity, as does AbbVie plus ADT versus ADT alone. But what we'll never know is compare it. Nobody will ever compare enzalutamide to darolutamide or to Aberaterone.
No.
That'll never happen.
No, and I think the difference between Aranote and ARASEC is that Aranote is an international trial, ARASEC is a local trial. There is on Euro Today, and I think this came around this morning. That's the only reason I remember it, because Frank, I'm forgetting stuff all the time as well, man, and I'm not even on any drugs, so don't feel so bad. There are two videos on there. One is an interview, Alicia Morgans and Neil Shore, who's the PI, I think, on ARASEC. The other one is Fred Sard and Alicia Morgans talking about Aranote.
Well,
so I haven't had a
Aranote,
chance to look at them.
I'm looking at Aranote, and there are no US sites.
Right. So I think ARASEC I think Aranote is the international comparable of ARASEC. And Shore is not a GU med-onc, and I got a feeling that Sard is also a urologist. Yes, he is. So it's interesting. Both these trials are being led by urologists and not by GU med-oncs. That makes me nervous as well, but we're not going there right now.
Well, I mean, especially since I think most people were pretty suspicious of Sard's results at GU ASCO.
For what?
This was the now I'm forgetting. This which one was it? Do you remember, Len?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't. I think we're all suffering from memory loss.
Yeah, Sard's results from GU ASCO were unselected patients with PARP inhibitors versus people with BRCA1 mutation. And he reported these magnificent results, which nobody believes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What drug was it?
It was, I forget which PARP inhibitor.
Probably olaparib.
Okay,
maybe either that or rucaparib.
Right. But it was clearly, these drugs have shown really good results in people with DNA repair defects, especially BRCA1 and 2. But to show it in unselected patients was pretty remarkable, and nobody really believed it.
Okay.
The link I just put in for Aranote, it's an awful long link. I just copied it. So I'm sorry, guys. Just go to Euro Today and you'll find it. I don't think that link's going to work.
So we love to talk about darolutamide on this call, but maybe we should move on at this point. We've kind of dealt with Frank's immediate issue. Congratulations, Frank.
Yeah. Thanks for the input.
The link works.
Okay.
So Jeff, Cookie Monster, you're next.
Oh, okay. Well, a couple things. Hot flashes. I had said my hot flashes had stopped, and in December I went 4 days in a row, middle of December, with none of them. And for about another couple of months, I go with a couple, get one or two, and then I go a few days without. Mid-February, they pretty much stopped. I'd get maybe one a week. So I stopped wearing my wave devices on. I only started wearing one of them. And last week, I had one day, I noticed I get these warmings, and they were coming more frequently. Last week, I got 8 hot flashes one day, 9 the next. So I put both waves on again, and a day later, I'm down to half that. It's sort of interesting how wearing 2 of them really seems to suppress having them. Another thing, my blood pressure we were talking about last time, I went on 2 losartan instead of 1 and 2 diltiazem instead of 1 because they're diuretics. And now I have to get up every night and pee, which I mentioned a few months ago that I don't have to. Well, now I do. One of those diuretics seem to do it to you. Another thing.
Jeff, what are you taking?
I take losartan twice a day and diltiazem twice a day.
They're not diuretics.
Diltiazem, I was specifically told by my doctor, is a diuretic. 2 doctors.
Isn't it a calcium channel blocker?
Yes. Yes, they are.
So it's
and
not.
I've been taking it for a long time because I had AFib, and they doubled it because I was already taking it. And my blood pressure has gone down. Though I went to the dentist today and it was high, but it's in the 120s again, which it hadn't been for a long time. I hadn't met Rick wasn't here last time when I mentioned this, but there's also new news on it. My PSA in October was 2.2. Started going down a little bit, but I've been on it 15 months this month. 3 months ago, it went down to 0.4. Last month, it was down to 0.3. This month, it's down to 0.2. I asked my oncologist, Harstark, if it's unusual, and she says most people sort of stabilize at a certain point. They don't go down. And she actually, when I went down to 0.4, she thought it might be an error on the lab. But when the next month was 0.3, she had to admit it was going down. But that's about it. Just thought I'd mention the issues.
Just as an aside, I agree with Herb that those are not diuretics.
It's good to have a real doctor on the call.
Does that mean you're just a pretend doctor?
Right. Right. Well, I don't want to prolong the meeting. I'll tell a story later.
Jeff, look, this is great. And I do recall, I think I was here, I do recall your PSA going down. So now we're down to 0.24.
0.2, yeah.
0.2.
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing's changed, right? You haven't done it, you're not doing anything differently, right?
Well, I have. I cut way back on the amount of meat. I eat a lot more fish, and I increased my exercise, the amount of walking I do, by 50%.
All right, I remember that. Right. And so that's now brought you down to 0.2. Maybe you should go vegan and run ultra marathons, and we'll get you down to a respectable.
Yeah, if I didn't have a terrible arthritis, I would. But I got bad knees, bad hip, had one knee replaced, and it gave out on me today. Which is real nice.
Oh, man.
So I can't run. I literally cannot run.
It's pretty amazing. What Andrea doesn't have an explanation, right?
No. She says, oh, by the way, I'm reading from the web. Diltiazem is a class of medication called calcium channel blockers. It works by relaxing the blood vessels so the heart does not pump as hard. Yeah, now, I've seen it in 2 different places. I just put in calcium channel blocker and diltiazem, and that came up. So, anything else, Rick? Yeah, I wish I knew what was going on. I mean, it's so weird to have it go down so low. It's been 2 years since I've been at that point.
Anybody got any thoughts or comments for Jeff? I mean, we love it when it's going this direction.
Yeah, I mean, better to go down than up for sure.
You say that
Shows
as
how
a
much we
PhD?
don't know.
Yeah, Herb and I were fighting 1.6 at the same time, and we went in
Right, but I
divergent
went the wrong,
directions.
and I went the wrong way, so you
Yeah.
went the right way.
The road better taken. Sounds like a frost.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't look. It's going to catch up with me eventually. It's
Well,
BRCA2 won't
let's
let it
hope not.
go.
So before we move on, I'd like to identify callers. We have 2 callers on the line. Could you identify yourself? If you're on the phone?
If you can hear me, I'll identify myself.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Steve. I live in New Jersey, and I found out about this through an email that my wife got, and she forwarded it to me. I'm in my, I guess, second year of Aberaterone.
So,
I had.
okay, Steve, hold on. We will get to you.
Okay.
I guess now we have 2 others. Anybody on the phone?
847 number, Herb, is David Muslin.
Yeah.
But when you speak, David, I can't. If you speak, your phone would light up.
Okay, I'm talking now.
And it
I don't know
comes-
what's lighting up.
Oh,
When
hey,
you talk,
we
it
got
comes
you
in-
as Don Price.
You come in as
That's no
Don
good.
Price.
That's no good. Okay, well, we'll take care. We'll change Don Price to David Muslin. We can
Well,
do that.
Right, right.
This is,
But then the question is, we have 2 other callers. Please, could you identify yourself? Okay, and we have one actual person whose picture I see, but your name is not here.
Kevin Bagnaska is on the phone.
Oh, Kevin.
Ah, okay.
About the 317-1131 number.
Yeah, no, we got you, Kevin. And Kevin, is that you also? Do you also have a visual icon?
I don't know. I'm driving right
No.
now, so I'm not.
No, it's not you. It's not you. So go
George
ahead.
Degnan.
Speak up again, George.
George Degnan.
Yeah, no, we've got you identified.
So we have one gentleman who's wearing a blue T-shirt.
that's you.
Yes, you. And could you identify yourself? You're muted.
Is that me waving?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. It's John Garbin. I'm a regular. I don't know why my name, and I can't even see my video here and I just reloaded GoTo on my iPad. So I'm John Garbin from Toronto.
Okay.
Thank you, John. We'll put you in. And a gentleman who I don't think we know before, Scott. Hi. Are you new to the call?
I'm new to this one. I've been to the under 60 advanced before, but not to here.
Okay. So let me just take a moment to explain how we operate in this call, because I think it's going to be important even to people who are here. Because we have so many folks, although today we have a small group for us, we ask you we have a 5-minute rule here, which is that we recognize new folks and we ask for time only during the first 5 minutes. If we get through everybody, we'll come back to anybody that came in after the first 5 minutes, but we do that to just try and be fair to the people that get here on time. So normally we would give Scott time, and we would give Steve from New Jersey time. And both of you are still new people, so both of you please come back next week. That said, we'll be happy to talk to you both as new folks if we have time after we've gotten around everybody. So allow us to, please stay, please listen, please participate. We're not ignoring you. We just can't. That's a house rule so that we get around everybody and we try and get people here on time.
Anybody know why we can't edit the name for John Garbine?
I don't, Len, but we had the same issue last night with Leon Dantzler.
Yeah,
And eventually he was able to do it himself.
it's Garbin. So,
Okay.
John, yeah. So I've reported in and gave my story several times. So there's no need for me to weigh in.
Okay.
I was particularly interested in the darolutamide discussion because I am in Canada and I am on Nubeqa and ADT, Lupron. There's no study involved. They've just put me on those. I became resistant 3 months after I started the Lupron, and they put me on the Nubeqa right away, and I'm still good. In fact, I'm starting my second year on it, and it's covered by my insurance company. Thankfully, my private insurance is covering it. It's a $50,000 a year item up here. Yeah, things are progressing well. I'm 0.33 right now, slightly up from 0.23 last time I reported in to you guys. But so far so good.
Didn't I put you in touch with Tony and Marguerite Florsham in Canada?
Yes, I did. In fact, thank you. You've got a good memory. I did advise them because he was starting to pursue some insurability with it. Obviously, Lupron is covered by our healthcare system in Canada, universal healthcare, but the Nubeqa is not. It's a specialty cancer drug. So I don't know how they made out. I haven't heard back from them.
And what did you say your PSA was down to? Because I keep notes here.
Yesterday was 0.33.
Excellent. Okay.
My nadir, in fact, I had an oncology follow-up. My nadir reached with those drugs was 0.18 in December. So I've climbed up a little bit. I was concerned about the climb, but it could be just an anomaly. Right now, it is too low to be put under any scans that would be meaningful. So we're going to wait another quarter.
So because I mean, I know you got in a little bit late, so let's get back to Ben and let's get through the folks who got here on time. Ben, go ahead.
So the top of the lineup is now John Antonucci.
Hi guys, it's a little early days for me to ask for support for this, but it seemed like a good night. There's not too many people asking for time, and so what happened with me is that I have been non-detectable for 1 year on Lupron and darolutamide, post-prostatectomy and post-radiation, and then my last PSA. All of a sudden is no longer non-detectable. It's very low. It's 0.01. It's so low that the treatment team is like, okay, well, came up a little bit. We'll check it out in 3 more months like we usually do. I am scheduled to go off ADT in midsummer because that's the 2-year point, And when the tumor board first met on me, they recommended 2 years of ADT. So what is the definition of biochemical recurrence? And is this, I mean, you know, it might be that I've always had really tiny levels, just too small to detect. I use 2 different labs. One is Quest, and their lower limit is 0.04. But the other one is the Yale lab, and their lower limit is 0.008. And I've been non-detectable on theirs as well a couple of times. So could just somebody put me in the right frame about this now?
Yeah. Who wants to go first? I guess.
I think
Rick, you better go.
BCR is defined differently for prostatectomy versus radiation therapy, but you've had both, so I'm a little confused. But I know if it was just prostatectomy, they would consider 0.2 the point of BCR, biochemical recurrence. If you had radiation, they would consider 2.0 as your BCR rate. So I don't know, Herb, what's the recurrence definition if you've had both? I don't know.
It would
I don't
probably be
know. I don't.
lower,
I
huh?
bet there's no. I'm sure. I mean, I would be hard pressed to say that there's a fixed definition when you've had both. And I think John, you're just going to have to look at the trend.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it's, things bounce around when you're dealing with, to me, when they give you triple digits, they're dealing with the limits of accuracy of that measurement.
Yeah.
I don't know what the standard error is, but if you I'd love to see 3 samples at the same time, right? So yeah. I think the answer for me would be just, go back in 3 months.
Yeah.
What is your number now, John?
0.019.
Oh, 0.019. Still pretty low.
Yeah. I mean, 0.2. I would say point.
It's the same as 0.02.
Right. 0.02. That's still infinitesimal on most charts.
Yeah.
So thank you for that clarification, John. So what you're saying is you're at 0.019 now, and the last time that you tested, which was what, 3 months ago, is that right?
That's right.
You were less than 0.1?
Let's see. The last one I got, I was in Arizona, so that was Quest Lab. So I was less than 0.04.
Okay, less than 0.04.
So think of it this way, John. If you went to the same lab, you'd be still less than 0.04.
That's right. No. I would probably have tested non-detectable if I went to Quest.
Hold on a minute. I'm confused. Didn't you say that you're at 0.19 or did you say 0.019?
0.019.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
0.019 is, that's what I thought I had originally, and then I had 0.19.
So I'd don't go to Yale. Forget Yale.
Go to a less sensitive lab and I'll be.
Go to Quest. You'll sleep easier with Quest.
Okay. So let me say this, John. There's a couple of important things here. First of all, the variation less than 0.004 against 0.019 could be a difference in the labs.
Yeah.
And what I would suggest you do is go and get a test at a local Quest and see what your local Quest lab gives you.
Yeah, I bet Herb will be right. It'll read less than 0.04.
So I think that's important for your own peace of mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we say to people, if you know you're going to be traveling, you can't get to the right lab, take 2 tests in your local lab so that you can calibrate. So you know that you're not going to get to the Yale lab, but you're going to Arizona. Go to Yale, go to Quest in the same week, and then you can calibrate your tests back in Arizona when you don't have access to the Yale lab. And that's always a good move if you're thinking about that. Secondly, you know, I am very much of the school that you shouldn't be testing to more than when you've had surgery, you've had radiation, you're on hormone therapy. Don't test below 0.1. Test to you know, 0.1% of a percent, because when you test beyond that, you can make yourself nuts. And I think that there's an argument, a mental health argument, and in fact, in the local guidelines for prostate cancer, that we reviewed, which haven't yet been published, and so we can't really talk about them, but I can talk about something I suggested, which wasn't even in there, is that that if a lab tests to anything lower than 0.1, they have to get the approval of the patient. Some patients don't need to know and don't want to know. I've never seen a test, my own test, lower than 0.1. And I might have floated around up and down between 0.1 and goodness knows what for the last 15 years. I don't want to know. It's always been less than 0.1. That's good enough for me. So I feel, as you can hear, I feel quite strongly about it, because I think that it's all well and good if you've just had surgery and you are monitoring to see whether the surgery was successful. And remember, this is what the PSA test was all about to begin with. It was to see if there's recurrence. And then, by all means, go to these more sensitive tests. But if not, I have to say why. That shut the meeting up.
Well, it's because we all agree, Rick.
Right. I think
right.
Just use the least sensitive assay you can.
I'll get an extra test at Quest in between the 3-month interval. And then if it comes out undetected less than 0.04, then I'll consider this test as positive but not clinically significant.
Right.
Okay.
But do it soon. If you're going to do that, John, do it soon so that the tests are relatively close to each other in time.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they have a standing order for me at Quest, so I think I could just walk in.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So in the summer, we'll have to decide whether I actually do go off the ADT, so I'll bring up the question again.
Yeah.
In the summertime.
I mean, you know, and if you go off ADT, I definitely would only go to, I wouldn't get an ultra sensitive or an ultra sensitive. I get a regular PSA test, because you're going to make yourself nuts if you start seeing these 100, 2 100ths or 3 1,000ths of a change. Oh, should I go back on? Oh, you know, and that could change your PSA in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know, John, I went to Quest, and Quest was less than 0.1 for all the tests that I took until the last one, and it was less than 0.04 like yours. Yeah. And I lost my mind for a minute and forgot how to do simple math, and you know, I had to realize what that really meant. Just that they had started with a more sensitive test between my previous test and the one that was 0.04, less than 0.04.
So you had what?
I think that was the time. I think that was the time, Dr. John, that Jimmy texted me in terror and then texted back soon after and said, "Oh, forget it. I just can't do math."
You didn't have to mention that part, but okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, John. Marc
Anybody
Valens?
else? I mean, this is such an important topic that affects anybody. Anybody else have anything on this before we move on?
I would just say that I would add to what John said. He said it's not clinically significant. It's also not clinically actionable. So this, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything if your PSA become 0.06 or 0.08. It's too low for a scan. They're not going to, I doubt that they would change your meds.
No, my team is not the slightest upset by this.
Yeah.
But I think the smartest thing that came up is sticking with one lab, not two, because that'll make it crazy. It's making John crazy.
Mm.
And I guess you're going to stick with Quest. Is that what we're hearing, John?
I guess so.
David, what do you do when, I mean, you're in one place for half the year, another place for half the year. How do you calibrate your tests?
It's interesting. I go back in the winter. I'm using Quest down in Florida. Actually, I switched Quest because they were such a pain in the ass. But I use two places, but not at the same time. And they're actually pretty close between Quest and Northwestern. So they didn't differ that much. But again, I wasn't doing them both at the same time. I was doing them, a month apart. 6 months in Florida, or 8 months in Florida, and 4 months in Chicago, Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need for a PET scan? 0.5?
Yeah, 0.65 is really.
0.65.
But that
You're a long way, John. You're a long way.
Yeah.
Part of it depends on the PSA doubling time also, John.
Yeah. Okay. That I won't know until I get more tests.
Don't make yourself nuts, John. Every day is a beautiful day. I'm dead serious.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's just that turning point that we all have at one time or another where we become castration resistant.
They're not there yet.
No.
But you're not there yet. So enjoy today.
Okay.
Enjoy today and enjoy tomorrow.
Okay, I promise. Thanks.
His number is not clinically actionable, but it's emotionally actionable.
Have a cookie.
I had a dream that night of finding a dying dog in a box.
Jimmy, I love it when you give the shrink on our call mental health advice.
The least I can do.
Shrink to shrink.
Imitation, the most sincerest form of flattery.
The shrink is human.
Come on. Okay, Ben.
So Marc Valens, you are next.
Well, I just got some new news today from Mac Roach. I've been complaining about the side effects. I'm on both Lupron and Xtandi, and he's tired of hearing my complaints. And he said, "Well, just get off the Lupron." And you guys first sort of told me about a drug holiday, but so that he seems so firmly set that I should stay on Lupron forever. It kind of surprised me. I think he was just trying to shut me up. He didn't want to hear me complain anymore. But anyways, I've got 6 weeks before it starts running out for my last shot. But I was just checking in with you guys on what to look for as I don't get my next Lupron shot. And then I'm totally unclear how many of the side effects I'm dealing with are coming from the Lupron and how many are coming from the Xtandi.
So what are your side effects?
Weakness, fatigue, brain fog. I've got bone density loss and muscle and strength loss.
So they're, from what you just said, I would say both.
Yeah, they both show that. So, but the question is, do
So
I also stop
in other words,
Xtandi or?
in other words, if you have brain fog, we've heard so many people on this call talk about brain fog from enzalutamide. It's not even an issue anymore. Bone loss, certainly that's a characteristic of ADT. Fatigue, both.
What's your PSA?
It's been for 2.5 years. It's between less than 0.01.
Try it.
Well, if Mac thinks you can do without ADT, but I think the brain fog is not going to go away if you're taking enzalutamide.
Well, and he's a
Have
radiation.
your PSA.
He's a radiation oncologist, not a medical oncologist. So
yeah, but he's brilliant.
But he didn't even. Well, he's always so busy. He sort of jumps in and jumps out. So the question I didn't get to ask: should I also stop Xtandi? And I don't know that.
Do you have a medical oncologist?
Well, I'm getting a new one at UCSF. The one I have here locally in Oregon, she's really good, but she does all kinds of different cancers. So actually, Mac has set me up next week. I talked to one who specializes in prostate cancer.
I would talk to them.
So,
yeah,
I have that in my notes that he's sending you over to Dr. Borno, and she's really good. And, I think that given this is a continuation, Mark, of your original treatment, right? Or was this, are you being treated for recurrence, or are you being treated? You're not.
Since I finished I finished the radiation in September of 2019. I've been on the ADT and the Xtandi since like June of 2019, and my PSA has been undetectable ever since. But the side effects are maybe getting worse. The brain fog is definitely getting worse.
If you quit, let me address this from my, let me address this from my own experience, okay? Because Mac was my dog, and I kind of had similar conversations with Mac along the way. Now, one big difference is I was not on enzalutamide. I mean, it wasn't available at the time that I was there. But I know that he feels quite strongly that you've got to do at least 2 years. And I think once you get to that 24-month point, he doesn't mind if you stop. What I cannot tell you right now is when he says stop, whether he means stop everything or just stop the Lupron shots and continue with the enzalutamide. My guess is that he's probably saying, you've done enough, let's see how you do. And that's the discussion to have with Dr. Borno. I will tell you that when I stopped, and guys have heard this before, my PSA climbed for a year after I stopped. And Mac, and I would go back to Mac, and I'd say it's going up, and then I'd go back the next month because I was getting tested monthly. It's going up. And then I said, oh, I better not bother in this month. So I wait a month, and then I was still going, it's going up. And he'd always say, don't worry, watch it. It's going to come down. It's going to come down. He was right. But it took 11 months for it to come down. Now, I think, as I've told you before, Mark, there's an explanation to this. And I can spend some time with you explaining it. But there is a good reason why it goes up before it comes down for many people. Although that explanation has never been documented in the literature that I'm aware of. Now, and it was explained to me by a radiation oncologist from MD Anderson. I guess what I'm saying to you is try it. You know, if you're feeling good, and if you're feeling crummy and you want to get off, and it's not unusual to be feeling that crummy after 2 years, then you've done your time already. Would a little more hurt? Probably not. Would it help? We don't know. But if Max says time to get off and see where you go. But don't be petrified that the treatment failed, because it's likely your PSA is going to rise before it falls. Right? I mean, I got up to 0.96, almost 1, after 11 months, and then it fell consistently, and it's been at less than 0.1 since about 2012, I think, or 2011. I can't remember now.
Great. Okay. My only concern is when I was diagnosed and with Gleason 5+4, my PSA was 1. So PSA has never been a very good indicator for me about my cancer. And so my only worry is that a good thing to use to see if it's coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue there, and that's again a really cool discussion I would encourage you to have with Halaborno. How are you going to monitor if you don't think that you're a high PSA producer? And I would add to that conversation as to whether she thinks you might have aberrant prostate cancer. And they may want to do some sequencing now and you can suggest to her, should we do some sequencing to see if my prostate cancer is unusual? And she may say, no, let's wait and see what happens. But I think the issue is, how do we monitor people like you? And it's always a challenge, because it's likely you're not going to show up on a PSMA scan. On the other hand, by the time, if your PSA were to rise and it would going to 0.2, it might be like somebody else having gone to 0.5. We don't know. I mean, I've been working with another guy like you since 2008. And his PSA has climbed from he had surgery, this guy, and his PSA has climbed from 0 to something like 0.3 in 15 years. But it climbs. He doesn't make PSA. So what do we do? I mean, yeah, she could order a PSMA scan, a Pylarify scan for you. You're entitled. The question is, when should she do it? But my strong advice to her would be to discuss these issues that we just raised right now. How to monitor, whether you have aberrant PSA. She's a very smart and a really good lady. So I think you're going to have a good listener. She's going to listen better than Matt. Let me say that.
That's good news. Well, thank you, guys. You gave me something to think about, and then I'll just be watching.
Anyone else? Jeff Marchi was trying to get in at the beginning. Jeff?
Well, I was going to mention that he should have his PSA tested, but your point about the fact that it go up and then down more sort of makes that mute.
Yeah.
With the Gleason of 9, I would really want to be concerned, but stop taking the drugs and see if your PSA at least rises to 0.7 so you can get a real Pylarify test.
Okay, well, I'll see what Dr. Borno tells me.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I know you don't feel good, but are you able to exercise?
Yes, and I got into a trial up at Oregon Health Science University, which has me and my wife exercising online twice a week. And so that's I show up for that every week, and it's and that actually got me going back to the gym and all. So I'm finally exercising again.
Yeah, but how many times a week in total are you exercising, Mark?
At least 3.
Okay, well, I was exercising 7 days a week when I was 2 years in. And I think that if you can, don't worry even to begin with about the amount at the time, but if you can get into that habit of exercising every day, I guarantee if you do it every day this week, you'll come back next week and you'll say it made a difference.
Okay, I'm trying. Life is so full.
Well, but wait. It bothers me when people say life is so full. The reason it bothers me is because you've got crummy quality of life from the drugs that you're on. However full life is, you've got to make time. You can't come here and say, what do I do? How do I improve it? And we say, well, exercise because we know it's going to help you and we know it from our own experience. And you say, well, I'm too busy. You have to get up half an hour earlier or go to bed half an hour later, or you've got to make the sacrifices to improve your quality of life. And you know, I'm sorry to talk to you like this, but you got to do it, man. If you want to, if you want to get rid of that brain fog and you want to get rid of that fatigue.
Well, thanks for the nudge. I'm headed that direction, and so your words, I'll do it.
Okay, you have witnesses. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Russ Hoover, what's up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm into about 16 months of this. When I started out, my testosterone number was like 380 something, and it dropped the first month after going on the drugs and has gone downhill, if you will. My last number was 20. My PSA number, which has never been high, was 3.4 something. The first month on the drugs, it went to 1.1, and every month since then has been going down. My last test, which was done last week, my PSA number now is 0.219. So the drugs that I'm taking are doing the job. And I guess my question is, like everybody else's question, what can I do about the symptoms, the brain fog and all the usual things? If anybody had any new ideas.
I got old ideas.
Excuse me, Russ, but drugs, okay. You said drugs, okay.
Yep.
Which ones?
Lupron and enzalutamide.
Thank you.
Or enzalutamide, as I call it. I hear some guys here talking tonight where they're stopping the Lupron but staying on the enzalutamide. I'm not quite sure how that works from a layman's standpoint.
As we heard before with Mark, I mean, it depends on what your symptoms are. What are the things that are bothering you?
Well, the biggies are brain fog, fatigue, like you can't believe I can sleep 22 hours a day, and the hot flashes. Even with the Ember wrist thing, it knocks it down, but it doesn't eliminate it, at least for me.
Well, I mean, if you listen to Jeff, you need 2.
Yeah, I heard that.
But I mean, really, I mean, we've heard it time and again.
Yep.
Brain fog, enzalutamide. It's quite clear that goes with the territory. Now, if you can, we also heard that Dara is in trial for your condition, but it's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you can convince your doc to provide Dara, which will deal with the brain fog because it doesn't get in the brain, you're sort of stuck.
Okay. But
And with your PSA, did you say was 0.2 something?
yes, 0.2.
0.2, that's low. It would be below the 0.04 that John found at Quest, so you'd be in that category as well.
Yep.
So I mean, but you've been on it how long?
16 months.
Yeah, I mean, again, most people would say 2 years at least.
Okay.
But I think, yes, you could switch to darolutamide, and my bet is that some of this brain fog would go away. But you still need it. And Rick will know more than I do about this, but I don't think if it were me, I wouldn't go off so soon.
Okay.
Russ, you could at least talk to your doctor about switching to Aberaterone, because if I recall correctly, David Muslin was on Enzalutimide, and then he went to Aberaterone and he felt a lot better. Isn't that right, David?
He's disappeared.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there he is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you definitely qualify for Aberaterone, Russ.
Okay.
Talk to your doc about that.
Well, I have, and everybody seemed to talk about standard care. And, the group I go to is Florida Cancer Specialists, which I guess I made the assumption they knew what they're talking about. But I also went to Moffitt twice now for a separate opinion. And they're saying, if it's working, leave it alone. Well, yes, it's working, but it's killing me.
Right, but that's not what it's working, but it's not working.
Yes.
Right, and the answer is, and David we heard from David, and Len, I agree.
Yes.
Abby is another choice. It does not give you brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
It will give you there are other side effects like hypertension, but not brain fog.
Okay. But they both do the same. They both do the same job, though, right?
Yeah,
Well, they do it more or less. They're both considered second generation anti-androgens. They work with different mechanisms.
Okay.
So, Russ, a couple of things that occur to me. The first is you're your own best advocate. And both these drugs are recommended as second-line anti-androgens. The fact that one of them gives you very serious side effects that you are finding difficult to live with doesn't mean that they can't stop that and give you the other one. It's still standard of care. It's not that it's not standard of care. Now, there may be reasons. The other one includes a steroid. Maybe they don't want to give you a steroid. I don't know what your comorbidities are, what your other health conditions, and that's why they may have given you the enzalutamide in the first place. But you haven't failed the enzalutamide. You're just not doing well with it. So you have to go in there and say, Doc, I want to get off this enzalutamide. I want to try Aberaterone. And if there's no medical reason why you shouldn't, then they're going to put it on to you. And you don't ask them, Doc, what should I do? You go into the doc and you say, this is what I want to do. So there's a difference in how you present it as your own best advocate. That's the first thing. Second thing I want to ask you is, what are you doing for yourself in terms of stress management, exercise, diet, mental exercises to combat the side effects?
Yeah. Exercising, walking, riding bike. The wife has me on no red meat, no white bread, no sugar. All the things that, we read all the articles, we listen to you guys talk about what you should be doing. We're trying to do them. They don't help anything that I can measure, but I guess they're not hurting me. The only weird thing was everybody I've talked to locally is when you basically go toward this, what I call veggie diet with no meat and stuff like that. Usually you lose weight. I gained 10 pounds. So, and it's not that I was cheating on the, at midnight or anything. So something is,
Well,
my body goes the wrong direction for some reason.
well, a couple of things on that, and one is water retention. I mean, I know that I try to eat pretty well, and again, I would retain loads of water, and then my weight could swing 4 or 5 pounds up and then come back down again. And when you're on these hormone therapy drugs, it affects your water retention. It really does. So that could be one thing, and that could be something to discuss with the docs. How
Okay.
often are you exercising?
Every day, but I can. I'm still doing
Okay.
yard work.
Okay. Well, but yard work doesn't count. How often are you exercising on the bicycle?
A couple, 3 times a week.
Okay, we've got to get you to a point where you're getting your heart rate up to 80% or so of max, 70 to 80% or higher if you can manage it every day for at least 15 minutes. You know, people think, oh, I'm outside raking leaves. It doesn't do it. Jimmy, you want to talk about that?
What I want to talk about, just very, very briefly, is the same thing I was going to say to Mark. A lot of guys, we ask them if they're exercising, they say yes. They say, I'm walking. Sometimes I'm riding my bike. I'm working in the garden. Because the ADT drugs attack your muscles and waste your muscles, that is where the fatigue, and I believe other parts too, come in to play. So are you lifting weights? Are you doing any resistance training?
I lift, I have weights I lift, yeah. I don't have really resistance training per se.
Well, you have weights.
Yeah.
Are you using them?
Yep. That's my evening thing. If I sit and watch TV or watch something else, I have a stool I pull out. I sit there, I do my arm exercises and all these good things. I do my knee bends.
Well, all I can say is that I know that the strength leaves us when we're on ADT. I worked really, really hard on ADT with my strength training, and I still lost strength, but I didn't lose as much. So I always say, I can't know how much you're doing. I can't know how much anybody is doing. But like Rick says, the more you do, better. And unfortunately, we need both cardiovascular and strength training if we want to thrive on ADT, I believe.
Yeah. And I just want to add that, and for everybody, it's all about, and Jimmy's been bringing this home to me, not that I didn't know before, but it's also about how high you get your heart rate when you exercise. Taking a walk, taking an amble around the block doesn't really count as exercise. Exercise is when you get your heart rate up above a certain amount. Now, everybody's different. You've got to talk to your docs. You've got to ask them where it's safe to go. But you've got to get that heart rate up above that level that you've agreed with your doctor, your PCP, for 10 or 15 minutes and hold it there. That's where you get the benefit of exercise.
A heart rate monitor is strongly recommended for that.
I have one.
Good.
And my at-rest heart rate is 50. And most of the times I go to a doctor's office, they think I'm dead. But
no, that's good. That's good. They do it good.
They always, yeah, they do
Russ,
it twice.
were you an athlete before? Were you a runner or something?
No, not really. I mean, I've always been in good shape, and until all this stuff really jumped on my back at 75, I was never in a hospital. I mean, I had the sniffles and stuff like that. I never had any kind of major disease. From my records my parents gave me, I never had a childhood disease. So this whole thing is new to me, new to my body, and just trying to figure it out. It's one of those things that I guess I'm like most people are having trouble getting their head around even after this amount of time.
So Russ, get hold of your PCP and tell him that you really want to be exercising more aggressively? Is it okay to exercise and hold your heart rate at around 115 plus for 10 or 15 minutes? And if they say yes, that's what you want to be doing on that heart rate monitor.
Okay.
Getting it up to around 115 plus or minus and trying holding it there. I'll tell you something just very, very quickly, because I know we're running late now.
Yep.
I got my heart rate monitor finally working. It was Jimmy sent it to me because my other one I'd lost. I don't know why. Don't have it. And then Jimmy got it to me. I got it working and I've been using it. My heart rate should be my max should be 148, right? On a ride over the weekend, I got it up to 161. Now, you know, if you've got that athletic capacity in your heart, it's gonna come back, and you've got to make your heart work hard to keep it. And so that what I'm saying is, agree with your doctor on a safe rate. On paper, it should be around 115, but I'm not making recommendations. I'm telling you, go talk to your doctor, and when you know what that rate is, try and exercise. And if you can get it up to 115 plus with yard work, then I'll say fine, go ahead with your yard work. But I don't think you're going to be able to do it.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, and I have what I consider a very, very good cardiologist, and you got the magic number there, 115. But he didn't really specify any particular type of exercise, which maybe he should have. I don't know.
Is that your cruising altitude, 115, Russ?
Yeah, I guess.
How long do you hold it?
Pardon me?
How long do you hold that?
If I'm riding a bike so hard, 15, 20 minutes out back.
Good. Do it twice that long. Feel better if you do.
That's what's going to make
Jimmy,
the
is there
difference,
ever
bro.
enough? Jimmy, is there ever enough?
Well, when you do more and it kills the side effects, you don't ask that question anymore.
Okay. Is there anything good, like maybe running, that would be better?
Running is great if you can. It's
Oh, I
whatever
can.
you'll do. Whatever you'll do is the best thing for you.
Okay, I'm just looking for whatever may have worked for somebody else. I'm always open to suggestion.
Yeah, no, it all works. It all works.
You know, a stationary bike you can do it on. That's what Herb uses. I use a rowing machine, and I also clip my bike into a trainer. A rowing machine can get your heart up quickly and high. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff. But we don't know what works best for you. Some people don't want to use a rowing machine because they got back issues and you know, it's hard for them to tolerate.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Elliptical machine is always good, Russ. Elliptical machine is always good.
Great
Easy on the
idea.
bottom.
Okay, yeah. I've got a Y about 8 minutes from here that has every machine in the world.
Perfect.
So, and my silver sneakers plan, you know, allows me to get in there and do anything.
If you can run, it's better for your bone health than a bicycle.
That's what I've been told. How about jumping rope?
Jumping rope is great, and you know it's good on the bone health because you're moving those bones.
Okay.
I walk because I can't run, but I walk as hard as I can, as fast as I can, leaning forward. It gets your heart rate up, and you don't have to spend as much. You don't go as far as you do running, so you can do it for a longer period of time with less distance.
True. All right. Answers mine for the questions for the moment. Thank you. I'm getting feedback here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign off here. I've lost you guys.
Okay. Tom Sportsel, if you're still on the call, it is your turn.
I'm still here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'll give you an update. In early March, I had a PSMA scan, and the idea there was I went off my meds to increase my PSA, which was about 2.3 at the time of the scan, and the idea was to see if I had lung mets, because that's what I was told all along. So, as it turns out, the scan told me I had a couple bone mets in my pelvis, and nothing showed up in the lungs. So, yeah, that was good news at the time because it said I could change my treatment plan to include radiation, and I'd be low burden as far as metastatic goes. So I met with a radiation oncologist to set up. Ohio State does 20 treatments. Is that right?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, and so we're gonna get set up to do that. But in the meantime, after that, I ended up in the emergency room because I had excessive bleeding and clots in my urine. That's excessive with a capital E. So I spent the evening in the emergency room and then got admitted for more testing. Turns out the bleeding was coming from the urethra coming out of the bladder. Apparently it's fairly, well, they said it's from the cancer. It's bleeding from the prostate. So, so that changed. Well, at the same time, they did a CT scan, which showed I had tumors in my liver at that time. So that changes everything now. So they did a lung biopsy or a liver biopsy while I was, liver biopsy, which said I had prostate cancer in my liver. So now I'm back to where I was. So I went back on ADT, which I'm doing Eligard and apalutamide at the moment. My oncologist is referring me back to the radiation oncologist. That was because of what happened, because of the liver, the radiation treatment was canceled. But now he wants me to go back and talk with the radiation oncologist about the bone mets and talked about radiating the prostate around where the bleeding was. And he talked about that could solve my problem as far as that goes, as far as the bleeding goes. I've had ongoing issues with blood clots in my urine for quite a while, so finally figured out where it was coming from. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk. My oncologist, setting up the radiation oncologist, and we're gonna talk about tri-therapy in a few weeks, about adding chemo on top of the Eligard and apalutamide. Right now, my PSA was at 2.3, now it's at 0.87. But the problem with my liver, which is causing me trouble, the liver enzymes AST, ALP, and ALT are quite a bit elevated from normal, and they've gone up a week after the initial blood test. So I get another blood test on Thursday to see if they're still going up or if they're coming down.
Did the
So
PET
that's
scan show the liver mets? Did the PET
no.
scan show it?
PET scan did
No.
not show any mets in the liver.
So Tom, you had the Pylarify scan?
Yes.
So I guess the fact that they didn't show what other people think are metastatic sites, right, would say that maybe there's more there than meets the eye, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing here is a great example of somebody who may not be a good candidate for Pylarify, because we know that there is, by biopsy, we know that there are mets in the liver. The mets in the liver don't produce PSMA. Mets in the rest of the body may do to a certain extent. So this is the reason why we do these CT scans and we do the Pylarify or other types of PSMA scans. And if you don't have that concordance, you may not be a great candidate. And so I've used, without names, I've used Tom's example a couple of times. I do have a question for you though, Tom, because I'm looking back at your notes. I know you had a TERP many, many years ago. Well, not so long, in 18.
It was it was a simple prostatectomy.
Right, which is, the simple prostatectomy is pretty much the same as a TERP.
Okay.
Because they don't remove the prostate. So when you were diagnosed back in 2020, did you ever have any radiation, or you had no surgery? Did you have radiation? Did you have any primary treatment, or did you just go straight on to hormone therapy?
Straight on to hormone therapy.
So I think the discussion that needs to be had with the radonc as part and parcel of the radiation is whether in fact they should be debulking the gland. And you know, there are many guys on this call who have gone back in, having been diagnosed metastatic, have gone back in later, and they've had they've had a full set of radiation to the prostate gland, and they've also had radiation across their pelvic girdle, sometimes with the pelvic girdle, sometimes without. But the discussion really should be, what about that primary therapy? What about that primary treatment? So, I mean, Herb, you went back in and got primary treatment later on, right?
I mean, right, but we don't know what good it did. I mean, we just did it, assuming it might do some good. But I'm more worried about the discordance. I mean,
don't be worried about the discordance yet, okay? Because before we get to this discordance, before we even get to the PSMA issue or whether he's eligible for Pylarify, what things can we do right now? What should he be? He's not going to be talking to his doc right now about Pluvicto. What should he talk to his doc when he's?
What about doing an FDG scan?
Well, but if we know for what? We know that they've done a biopsy on the liver, and we know that there's prostate cancer in the liver. We know where else there's prostate cancer.
Then
what do we have to? What we've got to do right now is look at some treatment, systemic or otherwise, that's going to stem this. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, which is not very invasive, is what about treating? He's back on hormone therapy, what about discussing with the docs about treating the primary
Yeah, but
first?
I would worry more about the liver meds, right? I mean, I think Tom, chemo is on the table, you said?
Possibly, yeah, he talked about doing tritherapy.
And is this a GU-onc that you're dealing with?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the tritherapy, this story of darolutamide and ADT and Taxol seems to be relatively effective, and it may be that a tritherapy might be the right thing, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not practicing medicine, but I'm more worried about the systemic aspects, Rick, than the primary prostate.
Well, but I think these should all be on the table. What I'm saying is when you meet with the RO, raise the opportunity to radiate the primary. That might be what his doc is talking about, and they're already talking about chemo. I don't want to get into how you sequence all of this. And I don't disagree with you that chemo is in place, and maybe that chemo would include a platinum since the disease is in the liver. But having said that, I think these are all issues that need to be addressed with your medical team. And I'm just trying to give Tom the right areas of discussion to talk about. Chemotherapy, we know. Radiating the primary is another one. Even radiating the spots. I mean, you can do the spot radiation at the same time as the chemo. Because originally Tom was going to do spot radiation.
Right. Well, originally they were going to do spot radiation and radiate the prostate.
Yeah.
Tom, you said they did a biopsy of the liver lesions. Do you have the pathology report? Did you read it?
Yes.
Did it say anything about adenocarcinoma or small cell?
It's the same thing that's in the prostate.
There's just adenocarcinoma, no small cell, no neuroendocrine.
It's the same as
yeah, it's the same.
Okay.
Or whatever,
Tom, did you ask them if you could, as we had discussed, did you ask them if you could get it sequenced?
Yeah, we did. And they said they wanted to wait until, well, since I'm castrate or hormone sensitive, they were putting that off. Does that make sense?
Not really, because you can get another test a year from now anyway. So you're gonna go through, but it might give them an indicator of the way to treat you right now. And I would say I want it sequenced because I want to know, I want all the information as I'm launching myself into this next phase of treatment. And I don't think we have all the information. If I've got metastases in my liver, maybe we do, and maybe you're right, but maybe there's something else there.
Okay.
You can do that.
And send that sample off and have them analyze it. If it comes back and there's absolutely nothing there, that might be an indicator that you didn't need a platinum.
Okay.
But if it came back with something there, you may need a platinum, but we just don't know.
All right.
Tell him Linda's writing it all down.
Yeah, Linda's writing it down. Yeah, we see him in a few weeks. So
Linda, we had an agreement you were going to be in the frame. Here she comes.
Here
Okay.
I am.
Hello.
Hello. I just got my cataracts taken care of, and I'm not seeing well, so I'm going to sit in the back. All of you guys are blurry. So,
Okay.
Well, my biggest concern is my liver enzymes going up. I don't know what does that mean for me, and how high can they go before it really starts to be a problem? they like I don't know if you know what the AST was at 19, and then on April 5th it was 129, and April 7th 196. And ALP was 83, and on the 5th it was 213, and now it's 269. ALT was 16, it was 137, and now it's 189. So,
Well, I mean, Tom, I really think you need to have this conversation with your med-onc soon.
yeah, he's the one who ordered these liver tests.
And when do you see him next?
Please?
When do you see him next?
On the May 3rd.
Not quick enough.
No, I guess that's okay, but
I get another blood test tomorrow, so or Thursday.
What does that signify?
What with these liver enzymes going up? What does that mean?
Not good.
Not good?
No.
Well, it's
Well, it
most
means
likely due to the metastases you have in the liver. So you need treatment. Some kind of, you need, somebody, I think Rick, somebody mentioned chemo, probably including carboplatin or some platinum chemo drug, which those are usually the most effective for liver metastases.
Okay.
So, you know, I think what I would do in your shoes, Tom, is when are you meeting the RADONC?
May 3rd.
May 3rd?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Radak. I don't have an appointment yet. I'm surprised.
Okay.
Then
I would say that you need an appointment with you need to go through everything we've talked about with Monk next week at the latest, if not this week. And tell him that you're concerned that this is all elevating. You don't want to wait 3 weeks until May the 5th. And let's get a plan in place, because this doesn't seem to be right. Whether it's radiation, whether it's chemo, let's get a plan in place. This is what's on the table. Can treat the primary, can treat the spot. We can do chemotherapy. We can do chemotherapy with taxane plus something else. We need to get sequenced to know what the right drugs are. You know, I mean, just say to him, what if I had a somatic BRCA mutation? Would you treat me differently? And he's going to say, well, yeah, I might. Well, how do you know I don't? We need the sequencing.
Okay.
Okay. And, you know, we got to pull our finger out here and not wait and then say, oh, well, we'll get FMI because then it's going to be another 2 weeks with FMI. No, I mean, and you've got to be assertive, or Linda's got to be assertive. Somebody has.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
She'll be assertive.
Have you been on Abby?
No, apalutamide.
Okay.
And that's
And they
great.
haven't tested your ALT and AST monthly?
They do it every time we go.
Yeah, they've back in February they tested it. It was normal. Now it's
Oh, wow. That quick. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You got to get that addressed immediately.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
All right.
we'll be on it tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Tom. You looked so good there for a minute, and to have your hopes crushed this way is pretty cruel.
Really? Oh, God.
So, our last, not least, is Dennis McGuire.
Hi, everyone. I'm having my fourth lutetium / Pluvicto scheduled for Thursday at U of C.
You're not supposed to go until Thursday.
And my latest PSA, which I had yesterday, came in at 7. So it's
Dennis,
still
what was it
working.
before? What was it before?
3 weeks ago it was 12.
Okay.
Where was it when you start? Tell them where it was when you started this
Yeah,
process.
before when I started the treatment in December, it was at 300.
Wow.
And that's all from
Wow,
lutetium?
that's right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa. Whoa, that's unbelievable.
So Dennis, are you experiencing fatigue?
I do for 3 to 4 days after the treatment, and then I bounce back.
Because it seems like it's knocking the shit out of me.
Let's see that paper that you, what the numbers.
When did you had yours 2 weeks ago,
Like
Herb?
we're going on 3 weeks. Thursday will be 3 weeks.
How are your blood numbers? Your
I don't know.
hemoglobin?
I get blood test on Thursday. It'll be it'll be the first one after treatment. But I noticed I'm definitely sleeping more. I mean, and today perhaps was the first day I didn't need a nap.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my whites, my reds, and my hemoglobin are impacted, and they're not back to where they were pre-treatment.
How much impacted, Dennis? Because this has been a discussion that Herb and I have been having offline with another advocate. And I'm just wondering to what extent your levels and your platelets, your whites, your reds, your hemoglobin, etc. How far is that off? How much has it come down?
Yeah, let me just log in quickly.
And you're about to get number 4 out of 6, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
How are the lutetium side effects compared to ADT?
Similar, I think. I think for me at least, the lutetium is temporary fatigue, whereas with ADT, that is kind of a permanent. So let's see. What numbers do you want to go over?
Well, what's your hemoglobin?
Let's see here. .4.
Well, that's excellent. It's slightly low, but not much.
Do you know what it was when you?
I was 13 before I started treatment.
Yeah, but that's still great.
That's minimal.
And it bottomed out at 12, and now it's coming back up.
Well, that's terrific.
And your whites and your reds?
The other number that's low is the lymphocytes are low, 0.5. It was at 1.0 when I started.
Okay, so there is some suppression there.
Yeah. Neutrophils, I started 2.2. it bottomed out at 1.3 and now I'm back to 2.
Uh-huh. So do they cycle with the with the infusion, or is this sort of steady up and down?
It cycles. So right
Uh-huh.
after the infusion, the
Right.
numbers drop and then they come back.
Okay. Well, this is hopeful.
Yeah, so Herb, you just have to give it time. I think you'll bounce back.
Well, we'll find out. If I don't bounce back, then
So, you know, we'll spend more time in future groups talking about this, but I mean, there is definitely a little bit of controversy around the adverse events on your blood and your immune system. I mean, when I looked at the virtual adverse events table earlier in the week, and you know, there's about, I think, 10%, 10 to 15% of men, I think is what I saw that were adversely impacted. Is that right, Herb? I sent
yeah.
them
But
to you.
again, we don't. I forget what threshold they use for grade whatever, for any
Yeah.
grade. I mean, what Dennis may be talking. Dennis's change in hemoglobin from 13 to 12 might not even make it as a change.
You're right.
So I don't know how, I didn't read their numbers, but Dennis, all I can say is, I think that's doing great, and hopefully it'll you know, 2 more cycles will do even better.
I tell you what, I bet you feel a lot better than after that Wisconsin, that Carbone trial, don't you, Dennis?
Yeah, certainly do. And I thought about that, and it's kind of curious how the PSA on that trial plateaued or bottomed out at 20, and that was it. Maybe, you know, it was the different ligand they were using. Don't know. Or the cumulative effect of all 6 treatments.
Well, the other thing was I thought that was I thought it was 4 treatments with a higher dose, wasn't it?
It was 3.
3 treatments with a higher dose, yeah.
Right.
So I mean, it may have to do with the dosage and the fewer treatments too. So,
Herb,
well,
did you have any nausea the first day?
No. I had,
Chicago,
I really feel is fatigue.
yeah, Chicago gives an anti-nausea
Well,
med.
I did, actually, I have it. Somebody gave me promethazine, but I didn't use it.
Yeah. Great.
Well, go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, no, thanks for listening.
No, I mean, it's we're all pretty happy that you're faring well on this, man. It's great. It's really good. It's really good. Okay.
Yeah, this is what we love to hear. So my apologies. This is it. My apologies to Scott, to the others who came late. We do have the 5-minute rule. The moderators are going to mute me.
I'll be waiting for you on Monday. Please come back next Monday. I'll be in the chair. We'll go through it with you.
Yes.
But I got to go, guys. As I said in the labor, happy Easter, and for those celebrating Passover, enjoy your Seder.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah, you'll be first up, Scott, on Monday. We meet at 8 o'clock on Monday, not 6 o'clock. And Scott, are you signed up? Are you signed up for a reminder for this meeting?
Yeah, I have it on my calendar. But I do work full time, and I'm in Central Time Zone, so this one is going to be difficult for me to make at this time. But I might be able to do the later one, hopefully.